Hey you guys, so today I am going to be filming my December wrap-up, and I read a total of 16 books this month, which is very good. I'm very proud of myself. The reason I read so much is because if you guys follow my channel, you know I vlog a lot, and I had surgery this month, and so I had a lot of downtime, and I just spent most of my time sitting in a chair reading, or in my bed, whatever. So that's what I did, and that's why I have so many books read. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started, or else it's going to be a really long video. The first book I want to talk about is Seduction by Design by Sandra Brown. And this month, I was in the mood to read really like trashy, romantic novels. Novels that I normally am not into, but for some reason, I don't know if it was the medicine, I was really wanting to read books like this. And I picked these up, and this one is seriously so good. It was just so sweet. It's about this woman named Haley Ashton, and she's like a big career woman, and she just like loves her job and everything, and she has this sister who she feels like has gotten everything in life, who's prettier than her, who's better than her. Her sister is awful. Like, I hated her sister, but she meets this man named Tyler Scott, and he is actually the owner of the job that she has, like the CEO, like the, you know, the big person in charge. And he meets her, and he really likes her and plans to seduce her. And honestly, like, at first when I read this, I was like, okay, like, he like hits on her at work, and I'm just like, this is sexual harassment up the butt. But I mean, like really bad sexual harassment. But I mean, he didn't hurt her or anything. Like, he wasn't doing anything against her will. I just think it was super inappropriate to, like, I don't know, try to hit on a coworker when you have that position. He wasn't like threatening to like have her fired if she didn't kiss him or anything, but still, it's like weird. That was the only thing that I had about this book that I didn't like, but their romance is so sweet, and I really liked it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. This is my mom's favorite Sandra Brown book. This is the one that she recommended I read. The next book I have is A Kiss Remembered by Sandra Brown. This one I did not like very much. It's about a student-teacher relationship. And the thing with this is, like, I don't know. I had this problem in Pretty Little Liars when I read that series, and also when I watched the TV series, because I just don't think it's good to romanticize stuff like this, because there are people who would, like, really think that that's okay. But, like, this teacher, he's the man, and he kisses his 16-year-old high school student, which was not good. They didn't have sex or anything. He, like, left because he got feelings for her. And years later, they meet in college, and they get together. This book just wasn't my favorite. I think after reading Seduction by Design, it's just, like, hard to, you know, it was a hard act to follow. But even so, I just didn't like the storyline as much in this. And also, Sandra Brown, I will say, her beginning books, they're very repetitive. Like, the stories start to blend together. Like, it's the same thing, different. It's just like the characters have different names and a slightly different background, so that's how I felt about this. I was just kind of, at this point, this is my 3rd Sandra Brown book in one day, because it takes me 2 hours to read these, and I was just done. I was like, okay, I think I'm done. The next book I have is called Breakfast in Bed, also by Sandra Brown. This is the last Sandra Brown book. This one I really liked. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and this one is about a woman who runs a B&B, and this man comes, and it's her best friend's fiance, and he's comes there to live with her, and the thing is, they start like falling in love, but her best friend, and this is what like bothered me, I was like, wow, you're like in love with your best friend's fiance, like that's disgusting and like mean and awful, and she like acts on it, she like does stuff with them, but these two aren't really in love. Like, the best friend's husband had died, and then she just kind of went with this guy because he was like family, because that he's been involved in her family, because she was her, oh my god, this book is so confusing. I don't even know how to say it. Just read the book. It's good. Like, it's not as bad as I'm making it sound. Like, I didn't agree with her sleeping with her best friend's fiance, but they weren't really in love. It was more like a marriage of convenience so the kids could have a father after her husband died. So I'm not doing a good job explaining this, but this was really good. I really did like it, though. And it had a good ending and everything. So next, I have this book called Ask For It by Sylvia Day. This book was awful. I do not recommend it. I think it's a series, but I'm not going to continue reading it because it just wasn't my favorite thing, and I honestly just started skimming it at the end. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I was going to give it a 1, but I don't have the heart to do that for some reason. But it was not good. It was just like so like bad to me, and I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. I didn't really get the story. I don't really have much to say about this one other than I just didn't get it. And I'm not even going to give a summary because it's just like not important to me. Okay, next. Let me get all the gushy romance books out of the way. Next I have Taking Katie. No, wait. I need to do these in order. Okay, I have Tempting Dusty by Helen Hart, and I actually read the first 4 books in the series. It goes Tempting Dusty, Teasing Annie, Taking Katie, and Taming Angela. So I'll do a quick review on all of these. So Tempting Dusty was so good. I really liked this one, obviously, or else I wouldn't have continued with the series. But this is just basically about people in this small town, and you get like main characters, and they date other people, and it's just like romantic books. But this one I liked. I gave it, I think, a 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. It made me feel happy, and yeah, so I liked this one. Then I read Taming Angelique. No. Teasing Annie. This one I liked as well. However, I didn't like it as much as Tempting Dusty because this one, there was a big trigger warning, and I thought these were just going to be like really lighthearted, fun books, but this one had a really, really rough rape scene in it, and I wasn't expecting there to be rape in it, and when I read it, it made me so sick, and it just was something I wasn't expecting, and that I didn't want to read, and it just hit me. It just was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I just wish there would have been like a warning or something. I don't know, maybe she has one in the beginning of it. I don't think she does. No, she doesn't. So she does in her other books, because I read 3 of her other books in a different series this month as well. So I'm glad she started putting warnings in her books, because I just wasn't expecting it, and it honestly just like ruined the book for me. Like, I still gave it, I think, a 4 out of 5 stars, but still it was rough, but it was good. And then I have Taking Katie. This one, I read this a year ago, I think, and I reread it this month. And for some reason, I didn't like it as much as I did the first time. And I think it's because, like, I didn't like how the man treated her in this. The man's name is Chad, and the girl's name is Katie, obviously. And there's just this, I won't ruin it for you, but basically, I felt like Katie was a doormat, and that she would just do anything that Chad wanted her to do. And I didn't like that about his character, and I didn't like that about her character. And like, I just feel like she would have said or done anything for him, because she was so in love with him, like, since she was like a little girl. And I just don't agree with that. Like, come on, girl, step it up. Don't be like that. Don't do whatever a man tells you to do. Like, stop. But that's just my opinion. Next, I read Taming Angelina. This one was my favorite one in the whole 4 books that I read in the series. There's 3 more, but I had to stop because it was like getting repetitive. The man in this one is perfect. He's not aggressive, he's not domineering, he's not possessive, he's amazing. He is so sweet, he cares about her, and he's not like a jealous type, like, I can't have you, no one can, and I'm gonna like, just because a guy flirts with her, like, these guys would literally, if they saw a man flirting with their girlfriend, they would be like, let's have sex right now, and I'm just like, what? And she'd be like, he's possessing me like an animal, and I'm just like, don't let him do that then. But this guy wasn't like that, and I really liked him, and there was diversity in this one, which I really, really was happy about. Sorry, let me grab this book real quick. So next, I have the other series by Helen Hart that I read, which this is just the first 3, but it is the Steel Brothers Saga, first 3 books in this. These I liked so much better than the ones that I just showed y'all, because there was so much more in depth to the story, and a lot, like, there's mystery in it and everything. So the first one's Craving, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Second one is Obsession, 5 out of 5 stars. Third one is Possession, 5 out of 5 stars. So these were so good, and I really, really liked them. And it's just about this man named Talon Steele, and he goes through a very, very traumatic experience when he was 10 years old. And when I say traumatic, it was traumatic. And I'm just going to go ahead and disclaim this. There is rape in this. There's kidnapping. There's all kinds of stuff. It's really bad, and I don't want to like spoil it for anybody, but it's a lot, and it's honestly so difficult to read. At least for me, it was so difficult to read, and I had to really ease myself into these books, but it's worth it, I promise. It's so good, and I am going to continue reading this series. It's just amazing, so I strongly recommend that y'all read this. The next books I read is Twilight by Stephanie Myers and New Moon and Eclipse. So I read these, and this I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. This I gave a 4 out of 5 stars, and this I gave like a 2 or a 3. Not a big fan of the Twilight series, honestly. I liked Twilight. It was good. But then I got to New Moon, and it just became like this big toxic relationship for me between Bella and Edward. I didn't like their relationship. I thought it was like too much. I thought that she was overreacting to him leaving her. I felt like it taught young women to put so much depth into one person and their self-worth into one relationship and one human being when you need to find self-worth within yourself. And I didn't like that it gave that message at all, because I just know that that's a really serious problem that teenage girls have. So I didn't like that. And Eclipse was just boring to me. Like, I was bored the whole time. It took me a long time to get through this, and I thought I'd go through this book like really fast, and it was so bad that I actually have not been able to pick up Breaking Dawn, because after reading Eclipse, I just have no desire to continue the story. I don't care what happens. I don't care, and I really want to, and I'm gonna really try to push myself to read it, but as of right now, I don't want to read it, and I'm not going to force myself to read it right now until I'm ready. So, but yeah, so those are those books. And then the next book that I read is Darker by E.L. James, and this is the Christian Grey perspective of the 50 Shades of Grey series, which is a series that I really, really love, that I'll say is very problematic and has a lot of issues and stuff that needs to be talked about, but I still really love the series, and I personally like Christian Grey's perspective better than Anna's, because Christian has more of the psychological problems, and I am such a freak when it comes to that stuff. Like, I love watching and reading about psychological disorders and like just stuff like that, and he has such bad issues, and it just helps me understand him more, and I liked him more reading his perspective, because at first when I read the series, I did not like him. I thought he was awful. I hated him. But then when I started reading these, I started to like him a lot more and understand him better and realize that he's not this awful bad person. He's just messed up, and he needs somebody to, help him. Although I am not a fan of the trope where there's a bad brooding man and then this sweet innocent girl comes in and changes him, because let's be honest, that stuff does not happen. Like, I can't change somebody in 16 days, no less. Like, it's just fun to read about. As long as you know that it can't, that's probably not going to happen. Not that it can't happen, but it probably won't, and that it's not too influential on the audience. The good news is a lot of adults read this, not young adults. So, like Twilight, it's a lot of young adults. So, hopefully, most adults know that this is unrealistic and that, you can't change a person overnight, generally, and not to waste your time in relationships like that. But, yeah, I still really like this book. It was good. I think I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book I have is The Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead, and this book was so good, and it's what I needed at the time. I was just like sitting here, and I was like, I kind of want a fun, cute read, but I don't want it to be like over the top romantic like what I've been reading, because I literally, you guys can tell, I read so many romantic books this month, and I was just kind of tired of it, but I still wanted a little romance, but I also wanted fantasy and some action. So I thought this one would be perfect, and it was wonderful. I really, really liked it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I can't wait to read the second one. I've actually already started. I'm going to do another video after this, the currently reading video. So, but this was excellent. I strongly, strongly recommend it. I love it too, because they're in an academy and they go to class. If you guys watch my Harry Potter series, you know that I love books like that where I get to see them go to class and learn. I don't know why, it's just satisfying to me. So I got to see that in this, and that was amazing. So I loved it. So there is that one. And then the next book is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. This book was so good. I read it in my 24-hour readathon. I read it in like 4 hours or something, or maybe it was a little more than 5 hours. Oh my gosh, you guys. I can't even explain how amazing this book is. I was so happy. Like, it just got me. I could not put it down. I was so invested. And what I liked about it is that for the first half of the book, I had no idea who was responsible for everything that was happening. And then about halfway, maybe 3/4, I started to realize who it was, but it was so satisfying. And I wasn't even mad that I knew who it was, because how the author did this was just perfect. But I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It was excellent. Here, I forgot to grab. Ooh. And the last book that I read, which is actually the first book I think I read in December, but it's the last book I'm mentioning, is Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. So this book was so good. It is one of the best books I've ever read in my life. I strongly recommend that everybody reads this. It's just letters to a friend that this guy named Charlie is writing, and it deals with like mental illness and heavy topics, and it's just an excellent, excellent book. And I just found that it was so touching to me, and it's very short, but there's so much in it, and it covers so much, and it makes you feel a lot. I was so emotional reading it. I didn't cry, but I just felt really like emotional, you know, like I could have cried, but it was excellent. It was just, and I highlighted so many things in this book, so many beautiful just quotes that I found amazing that I'll probably remember forever, but it was so, so good. So that is my December wrap up. It was a lot. I'm glad I got through it. Sorry if I was scatterbrained at times, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. And now I'm going to go film my currently reading list, and I will see you guys later.